But let me tell you the real world. The real world is it takes almost 25 and sometimes 30 years as a Foreign Service officer to work your way up to be nominated as an ambassador. Welcome to Forward Together. My name is Delano Lewis. Some of you may have been wondering, how do you become a United States ambassador? How does the system work? In the United States Foreign Service, 2/3 of the ambassadors are what you call career appointees. What happens is that you graduate from college or university, you take the Foreign Service exam, and I hear it's a pretty tough exam, and you become a Foreign Service officer. Based on your qualifications and background and language skills, you're assigned various cones or categories, such as administrative or military or economy or economic. There are a number of areas that you may qualify for. And you will serve your country around the world. You're placed in various embassies around the world. You do spend time back in Washington, but you spend a career between Washington and our embassies around the world. And after spending some time as a Foreign Service officer, you work your way up to what we call the Deputy Chief of Mission. That's the second highest job in any United States embassy, called DCM, Deputy Chief of Mission. If you've done a good job as a DCM, your name goes from the Secretary of State to the President of the United States, which will nominate you for an ambassadorship. So that's the road for a career ambassador. 1/3 of the Foreign Service is made up of political appointees. That's when you have worked for a political party, give money to a political party, and your name gets on a list that goes to the president, and the president nominates you as an ambassador. You have to be confirmed, whether you're a career appointee or a political appointee, you have to be confirmed by the United States Senate. And then you present your credentials to the country that you have been nominated to serve. That's the way it happens. But let me tell you the real world. The real world is it takes almost 25 and sometimes 30 years as a Foreign Service officer to work your way up to be nominated as an ambassador. On the political route, it can become much faster. In my case, I have been working for the Democratic Party for a number of years. I also knew Governor Clinton when he ran for President of the United States, and I was involved in the campaign in 1992. Once he was elected, I became very close to Vice President Gore and Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown. And in that situation, I had closeness to the White House. And given that, the Clintons were very supportive of National Public Radio. As president of National Public Radio, there were several events held at the White House during the Clintons' administration. So I had the connections to the Clinton White House. Also, the first day that I came into NPR in 1994, I received a call from Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown. And he said that along with Vice President Gore, he wanted to set in motion a telecommunications committee. And he wanted a committee to look at what would be the policy for the White House for telecommunications. And he wanted me to co-chair this commission. I was so excited. I said, I'd love to be on it. You want me to co-chair? He said, yes. I want your political skill and I want your background in communications. The other co-chair was nominated was Mr. Edward McCracken, who was the head of Silicon Graphics in Silicon Valley. I served as co-chair for 2 years. We traveled around the country getting input with a committee of about 20 people, getting input on what would be a telecommunications policy. We presented our report to the White House, to the Vice President, and to the President on telecommunications policy back in 1996. So that was my connection to the White House during those years. I left Washington in 1998 and retired, semi-retired, to New Mexico. We'd been here for several months and decided to buy another house in the same neighborhood. And while we were moving from one house to the next, we had boxes all around, but the telephone was still working. And the telephone rang. My wife Gail picked up the phone, and she handed me the phone. She said, "Vice President." So I said to the president, when I picked up the phone, I said, "Mr. Vice President, what do I owe this honor?" And his voice became very official. He said, "Del, this is Al, and I'm calling on behalf of President Clinton. And the president would like to nominate you as the next United States ambassador to the Republic of South Africa." And I said, "What did you say, Mr. Vice President?" And he repeated it. I was really, really shocked. I didn't know that I was being considered. I turned to Gail and I said, "The president would like to nominate me as the next United States ambassador to South Africa." And she said, shaking her head, "Yes." And I came back to the phone and I said, "Mr. Vice President, I accept." He said, "Congratulations, you're here from State Department." Click. Our life changed from that moment on. From that moment on, several days later, we got all kinds of forms that we had to fill out as to where we lived for the past 20 years, the jobs that I held, where I had traveled. I had to have a top secret clearance. And then I got the formal nomination out of the White House in June 1999. That call came in November 1998. So it took 6 months before I got the formal nomination. I had my hearing before the United States Senate in August 1999, and I got confirmed in November 1999, almost a year from the time I got the call from Vice President Gore. But I'm telling you this story because it was an exciting time of my life to be the representative of the United States, representative of the President to the Republic of South Africa, where they just come out of apartheid, and Mandela was just stepping down. Thabo Mbeki became the next president, and I was to be the United States ambassador. How real and exciting this was. So I'm saying to you that you must be prepared because it can happen to you. Be ready to seize the opportunities when those doors open. I had background in communications. I had background in government. I had been with the U.S. Peace Corps in Africa. I had background in business, and I was able to accept and receive that nomination for a United States ambassadorship. So it can happen to you, and I know it will. You just must be prepared. Till next time, we'll talk more. Godspeed.